Hey, Corner Clubbers, welcome to Heeltoe Automotive's Corner Club podcast. This is Marcus DiSabella. I'm the owner of Heeltoe Automotive and the host of this podcast. Heeltoe Automotive is an online Honda and Acura resource. We've been selling Honda and Acura parts on the internet since 2002. It's been a really long time. We've had a lot of experience in that time. We support all kinds of different Honda and Acura vehicles and all kinds of different Honda and Acura enthusiast drivers. This podcast is basically our platform to share some information, commentary, market, news, whatever it is I happen to want to cover to try to keep you engaged. So definitely, if there's a topic that you want to hear about, feel free to leave us a message down below in the comments, and I'll take a hold of that and maybe turn it into a podcast. But until then, I'm making up my own topics. Also, I do want to apologize a little bit for the audio quality of this podcast. I've kind of had to reboot a couple of times my process here. I really like the video and audio capture software that we're using right now. So if you are consuming this on YouTube, I feel like this is probably where I'm going to stick with, at least the way that we're capturing. But it's forced me to have to use just the laptop microphone, and it's not ideal. So, and I'm in a little bit of an echoey room. I want you to know that I recognize that, and I will be improving the audio quality of this podcast as soon as I can. So on to the topic of the day. Topic of the day is going to be to do with CT Engineering Iceboxes and how we ended up becoming the producer, manufacturer of CT Icebox intakes. It all goes back to Comtech Engineering. Comtech Engineering was a company that decided, well, I shouldn't say they decided, they were an engine and machine company, and they were involved in the racing industry and actually built engines for IndyCar. And even as far back in IMSA days, there's the Spice Acura. They did the power plant for that. So basically building race engines for fairly high-end racing applications. And as they had developed an engineering staff and machine and engineering capabilities in-house, they decided to capitalize on some of those skills and talent and tooling that they had to actually produce parts for the general automotive market. This was sort of a popular thing to do in the 90s. Some may remember the name of Dynon. Dynon Engineering did something similar with BMWs, and they came out with a product line of parts that was for BMWs. They could be installed at BMW dealerships. They had their own warranty that they would cover. They actually adopted the BMW factory warranty and supplemented it as well, just to kind of give people the confidence that the parts that they were buying were, if not necessarily endorsed, but not really shunned away by dealerships. So Comtech did something similar with Honda and Acura. They built supercharger kits, intake kits, headers, exhaust. Everything that they built was road legal, and they did cover warranty on problems that might go wrong with the powertrain related to those products. They did springs, private label through iBox, sway bars. They even sold wheels and brake packages. So you can actually get a Comtech built S2000 or NSX through a Honda and Acura dealer, and it would have a warranty, and you'd have all the performance and everything that you might expect from a high performance version of those cars. Pretty neat concept. Well, as time went by, they were fairly successful, and it's now sort of one of those product lines where people have identified quality and some vintage flair. Never really were JDM parts necessarily, but these parts were popular and sought after before the JDM craze even really sort of started. So Comtech made all kinds of great parts for Civics, Integras, most Honda and Acura vehicles. When you get to around what year? Maybe around 2005, 2006, somewhere in that range. And I'm digging into my memory here, so I don't remember exactly what year it was. Heeltoe Automotive is pumping strong. We've been online already for 3 to 5 years, and we're selling Comtech parts. Obviously, we wanted to sell those parts because they were sought after by people with TSXs and Civics and Integras. And in that time frame, we were doing quite a bit with TSXs. So we sold a lot of TSX intakes and the short shifters. And throughout that time, we actually brought on a couple of other brands and started building our own products under Fastline Performance and ATLP. So we had a pretty good foothold in the TSX TL market, even sold a few superchargers through Comtech. But at a certain point in time, and I think it was right around 2006 or so, CT Engineering came about as a branch off from Comtech. Comtech Machine Shop or Comtech Engineering actually decided they weren't going to be building the retail products anymore. And rather than let those products just sort of fizzle away and die, CT Engineering took the tooling and intellectual property to produce the retail product and started building them under the CT Engineering name. So that's where CT Engineering came from. A group of employees from Comtech actually continued on those Comtech products, but they couldn't use the same name because it was a trademark name for the machine shop business and they couldn't continue using that name. But the products still lived on. Just about everything. Actually, they continued making headers, exhausts, etc., intakes, superchargers. And, it was kind of a small company at that time. They had a few employees, and over time, the employees sort of flittered away, and the demand for the product got a little bit lower as more manufacturers come in and produce competing exhaust systems, competing headers, and then the cost of producing those materials in-house, I think, and I'm speculating a little bit here, put CT up a little bit against a wall. They didn't have the strongest marketing effort. They were a little bit riding the CT Engineering name that always existed and brought customers in, but without actively going out and pursuing new vehicles and new customers and things to develop for. Some of the demand for product got a little languished, and what we saw was some of the product lines just sort of dying away. And I think one of the first things to go, if I remember correctly, was the exhaust and the headers. The fabrication and the parts needed to get those things were pretty costly and labor intensive, and the demand for them shifted a little bit, and it just sort of caused them not to be able to produce those parts anymore. And I fairly distinctly remember hearing one day that CT had decided, look, we're a supercharger company. That's the number one thing that we are known for and that we make money on. So they decided that they were just going to let the exhaust parts go, not really worry about the suspension parts like springs and sway bars and stuff anymore. And they were just going to do the superchargers. And along with that, they kept doing the intakes because the intakes sort of supported the supercharger platforms as well. And they were also good selling products all on their own. Well, time went by, we kept selling the CT Engineering product, and it was still fairly successful. We did have some struggles with supply with CT for some time, but finally one day it came around that we got the phone call from CT saying like, hey, we're closing. We're not going to be making CT Engineering products any longer. These parts are going to be discontinued. Do you want to take over the intake production business? And I later found out that they only ever asked me. And I think it had to do with the fact that we were always a really good customer, but they knew that we had in-house production capability with the other parts that we were making. We even engaged with CT at one point talking about building their exhaust system for them to keep them alive. I don't know that that was ever going to work. It was just sort of an idea. Also, we had a carbon fiber manufacturer that could make the lids and things like that that supported some of their superchargers and intakes. And we talked about maybe producing some of those parts for them for their own products. Nothing ever came of that, but I think just some of that commentary and discussion opened up the door for them to reach out to us. I don't think they really wanted these parts to end up in a place where somebody would buy the intellectual property and then not continue producing the parts. Well, I had every interest in producing the parts. I saw it as a really big opportunity, so I thought about it for about 2 seconds and said, yeah, I would like to definitely take that stuff over, especially knowing that the S2000 and Civic Integra intakes existed, and we just didn't really have a good, strong grip on those markets. We thought that we could get more Civic Integra customers by selling those intakes. So we ended up buying the materials. I took a trip from Oregon down to Sacramento to pick up all the tools and molds and data transfer and all that stuff, and brought it back to Oregon. We pursued most of the um, manufacturers that were already working with CT before, just to kind of most smoothly continue production of parts. And it was kind of a good thing for us too, because it brought in some production capability that we didn't have before. Like, I have somebody to do exhaust and I had somebody to do carbon fiber, and I've known a few machinists, but they kind of were here and there. But now I've got some more suppliers that I come to learn about by taking over that CT branding. It took me a little bit of time, being mostly by myself here, and I do have help, but mostly it was a by myself effort trying to get these things off the ground. It took a while. I had to do one at a time, and I think it took like a year and a half for me to start actually making the S2000 intakes. I had some very patient customers waiting for quite a while for me to produce them. Um, but I did, and they went out. They've been pretty successful. The Civic and Integras have been kind of hard to keep up with. I don't think I've ever had more than a few on the shelf at any given time. Um, but we've been making them. We're actually making some today. The TSX intake, same thing. And one of the things I learned was that there were some things that we can improve with those CT Engineering products. They had aluminum brackets formed and made to mount the boxes in the cars, but we found that we could anodize them and laser mark the part numbers and stuff. It just give a little nicer touch to those products. Also, we revised the 06 and up S2000 intakes to take a simple grommet for the intake air temperature sensor instead of this weird bracket that they had devised. Little things like that here and there we've used to improve the product and streamline the production. So continuing the story, the Comtech name actually became adopted again by one of the other former employees at Comtech, Shad from Driving Ambition. So Driving Ambition took over all the rest of the intellectual property and currently has all of the, well, first of all, he has the name Comtech USA now, which is great. It's back up online again. Now, Shad mostly focuses on NSX and S2000. He doesn't really do anything with any of the other cars, and while he has intellectual property, as in, drawings and designs and the rights to produce any of the other products that were formerly made, just isn't really into doing it. So that's something that we're hoping we can work out with them in the future, is to find a way to produce these CT Engineering parts or Comtech parts under license through him. That's something that we're hoping to pursue in 2024. It's an exciting opportunity for us to continue on making these CT Engineering Iceboxes that people seem to really, really like them. And it would be great to build some more of those parts that have been discontinued as well. So that's it. That's basically the story of how the Comtech products became a reality in the first place, why they became CT Engineering products, and now why they're being made by me at Heeltoe Automotive as a sub-brand. We're expecting to have a website for CT Engineering up soon. It's something that I never really kind of latched onto, but we want to promote these products even more. Another thing I'd really like to do is have some merchandise available, and we need a social media presence for CT, and also we need to look at making some products for some new cars too. Not every product that CT made that we have designs for ever even got produced. Some only got produced in small quantities. So as we're hunting for manufacturers to produce some of these parts for us, it's some of the newer designs are a lot more intricate than the older ones were. That being said, it's a continuing project, but one that we're really proud to have underneath our umbrella. All right, well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you watching. Again, if you happen to watch this or listen to this before Black Friday sales are going, make sure you tune into our website this weekend. That's the Let's Deal button near the top of our website. There's a coupons and promotions page there that has all the details on all the specials that we're doing all weekend long. And if you're reaching out to us after that, make sure that you check us out online, and that coupons and promotions tab will always have some kind of a special available to you. Thanks again, and have a great day.